News Radio 700 WLW.
Now, look, we had talked about going back to the office, how some bosses are just obsessed with getting workers in there and how most workers just want some sort of flexibility. But there comes a time, I think, when employers have to put their foot down, and it is when it comes to how you dress. Some people forgot how to dress during the pandemic. I mean, people I know, and I see what they're wearing now, and they weren't wearing that back then. I'm saying, when the pandemic hit, did it take all the mirrors out of your house? I mean, we're dressing for an office environment. We're not dressing for some sort of pole dance. Or in the case of guys, we're dressing for the office. We're not dressing for some sort of sit on your couch, scratch your butt, and let's just wear some flip-flops, eating Cheetos. I think we've gone the wrong way with the way we dress anymore. Now, you may not care about it because you say, hey, it's me, and that's the way I am. But trust me, other people are talking. And it seems to be something that is a problem with a specific generation. That generation is Gen Zers. Now, I know anytime you get somebody from Generation X or Y or a boomer talking about a younger generation, you sound just like some angry man shaking his fist at the clouds. I get that. But, and I'll just raise this for an example. There's a woman, an interior decorator, who shared her workday outfit on TikTok. It was a white miniskirt, short-sleeve shirt, worn totally unbuttoned, and you could see anything that was below that. There was no mystery. And the TikToker said, if I had a corporate job, this is how I would go dressed to work. Going back to work for people of her generation has become some sort of a catharsis, and employers are not really happy about it. So how do you dress when it's time for work? And is it different than how you dress when it's time to go clubbing? Someone else that's concerned about this, or at least interested in the topic and looking for a resolution, is my next guest. She is an etiquette expert. Valerie Sokolosky has been on my show many, many times before. She is the author of the book, Do It Right. What is it? Well, that's what we're about to get into. Valerie, how are you on this glorious Tuesday?
Oh, I'm glorious on this glorious day. Thanks.
I love it. I love it. I mean, I want to say sometimes people simply just don't know. But you know, I mean, somebody at some point, I would think in your life, would tell you if you're not dressing appropriately, hey, you know, do you have a mirror inside your apartment or your house? Somebody's got to talk to these people, don't they?
You know, Ken, it does make me wonder where they learned that they could dress like that in the first place. I mean, really? Yeah. And when I say like that, there's still, if you're working for a company, there are still some protocols to what's appropriate and what isn't. Mm-hmm. And as you're saying, some of the dressing today, and you can say it's Gen Z, you can say it's Gen Y, you can say, I don't care what you call it. Yeah. Some things are just not really great. And the basic rule I always say is, if what you're wearing is detracting from your talents and your competencies and your skills and your wonderfulness, and God knows the young people today are so smart and so talented. But if something is that you're wearing is detracting from that, then people aren't getting the message that you want them to get to advance your career. Right. That's important to you.
Right. And yeah, I mean, I love to give people the benefit of the doubt, Valerie. I really do. But I mean, short skirts, sheer tops, sweatpants. I don't even know if they make Zumba pants anymore. But I mean, there's just something to be said for taste. And it seems like, and I'm not an old man shaking his fist at the clouds here, but it seems that taste anymore among all of us is slowly and creeping out of our lives. Have you noticed this?
I absolutely have noticed it. Absolutely. And you're right. It isn't one age bracket.
And it's
the
not
fashion industry.
Yeah, it is. And it's not just dress, it's decorum, it's how you speak, it's the words you use, it's how you treat people. I want to say a lot of it goes back to a reliance simply on social media where no one has to talk to one another anymore. You exist in characters on a text. You don't have to pick the phone up anymore. I'll just get it from my voicemail. And so the normal interaction that you and I had when we were growing up or when our kids were growing up, you know, the old joke, we didn't have Facebook, we had the phone book. It was all of that. All of that seems to be leading to this place that we're at culturally, which is not a good place. It's a very crude place that we live in right now. I don't know a pathway out. Do you?
Well, the pathway out is knowledge, and I think some people, particularly the younger people, maybe haven't really known what's appropriate and what's not. Here's what's so interesting about that, Ken. I've been doing business etiquette and professional image, those two niches, presence and brand, how you show up, and all the aspects that go with it. I call it professionalism and image of excellence. It's a day program. Now it's probably half a day, right? Yeah. But I've been doing that same program in companies all over the country for, I'll just say, 25 plus years. And I still am. And the reason is because people want to know, but they don't know the details. You can say, well, have manners. Okay, well, what does that look like? Yeah. You can say dress for success. Yeah, well, what does that look like? Right. And, oh, by the way, on behalf of the younger people, here's what they'll say to me. But you tell me, Valerie, to be authentic. And I do. And then I'll say, in essence of that, there are still protocols with whomever is signing your check. So check out who signs your check out with them what's expected and respected when they come into the office.
Exactly.
Just ask.
Exactly. Or maybe just take a look at them and see how they're dressed. Valerie, this is a tightrope, I think, that a lot of companies walk from an HR standpoint. You can get yourself in hot water easily if you start talking about the way someone looks or how they dress. I think really it's just good business practice, and this is just a personal observation working for most of the last 50 years. If the company is very forthcoming as to what they expect from an employee on a number of things, the old employee handbook, but also how you should dress. And maybe that doesn't go over so well with some of the employees you have, but better to have a problem up front than to have one down the road. Your thoughts on that?
Well, in agreement with what you're saying, Ken, in that we all have to be overly cautious today of what we say or how we handle situations, because the lawyers are making a fortune on, right? Yeah. And HR, God bless them, HR really is in a pickle. There have been many times in my going into companies to do this legacy program where the boss calls and says, listen, I'm not comfortable addressing these three things. One is dress, one is how people communicate. I'm just giving examples. Mm-hmm. But dress is always one of them, believe it or not. And so, Valerie, I'm going to hire you to come in and help with that. Okay, I get it. Yeah. Then Valerie comes in, and she, too, has to be very cautious in how she positions whatever it is she's saying. Yeah. So it's just so interesting today. It's hard to be just blunt, truthful with employees, those people who are in companies, because lawsuits and HR issues, and I'm going to take this to HR because I can. Yeah. It's kind of a mess.
Yeah, it is. And I'd like to think it's gender specific, but it's not. I mean, we're not just talking about women that may not dress appropriately at work, Men dressing inappropriately at work is becoming more and more of a problem, at least from the people that I talk to. What is it with everybody used to wear a shirt, tie, jacket. Now, what is business casual? It could be flip-flops. It could be shorts. This is not something that's gender specific, is it?
No, it absolutely isn't. So years ago, you know this, I wrote a book, it's still available, Business Casual, ... Clarify, please.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it basically outlines, to your point, the one thing it outlines, besides telling people what it is and how to identify what business casual is for your situation and your role, the other thing it talks about is what is never, ever, ever, ever appropriate. And in that list, Ken, and the list has been going on for, as I said, 25 years. Today, even today, too short skirts, which is what we started talking about, is on the list of don'ts. And why? Because here's the real why. When someone gets dressed in the morning, as a female now, just stop and think to yourself, I'm going into a company, if you're working for a company. I have career aspirations. I'm bright. I've got a degree. I'm ready to get out there and just knock it out of the ballpark in this company. Well, okay, great. If that's what you want, then pay attention to, again, don't do anything that's distracting. And I'm sorry, sheer blouses, too much cleavage, short skirts that if you just lean over to get a cup of coffee, it's too much. Yeah. That's not going to serve you well.
No, I'm 100% with you. I don't know. It's a problem apparently with Gen Zers, but I think we're talking about age groups all across the spectrum. Valerie and Company is where you can find Valerie Sokolosky. Valerie and Company. It's always great catching up with you. Stay well. I don't have to worry about you behaving, so I won't say behave. Stay well, Valerie. Thank you so much.
You too, Ken. Great as always.